A lot of teachers report that copying and pasting is a really big problem. And this is an issue that gets passed upwards to universities when our students progress. So unless we do something about this, our students really run the risk of not doing very well at university. And of course, BTEC awarding bodies are now getting a lot tougher on this issue. So why do students have such a problem with plagiarism? Well, they say that they have a number of difficulties. Of course, time is an issue, but another big problem is language and literacy skills. If the language level of the website or book is a lot higher than the student's actual level of reading skill, it's going to be really difficult for them to understand the key points and interpret and summarise them. Another point is that some students don't know how to summarise, or they just find it too much of a challenge. You know, it's much easier just to hit Control-C. So it's clear that English and vocational teachers need to help students learn these skills. But what are the skills? What literacy skills do you need in order to avoid plagiarism? At this stage, it might help to look at how we actually go about summarising information, and then we can look at the skills involved. So let's imagine that a Level 3 BTEC student studying business has to make a leaflet about employment law. Now this student has gone online and she's found a good website with the information she needs. But she needs to include only the information relevant to her task, as well as the right level of detail, and all of this in her own words. So she needs to use a process. And she might do something like the following. Here's an overview of the process. So first she reads the whole web page to get an overview. While she's doing this, she thinks about the key differences between the web page and the task she has to write. Next, she reads the web page again, but this time in more detail. She highlights the key information that she needs and underlines any useful supporting content. And she also puts a line through anything she doesn't need. Okay, so step 3, she takes a clean piece of paper and makes notes of what she's highlighted and underlined, writing the points in her own words. She also notes down the web page address so she can reference it later. Step 4, she puts the source material away and just looks at her notes. And now she starts writing her assignment. And finally, to check, she goes back to the web page and compares it with her own work. She checks that her work is accurate, that she hasn't copied anything, and that everything's referenced properly. So clearly, students need a lot of different skills to do all of this. In step 1, they'll need to be able to get the gist of the text, so they'll have to be able to skim read effectively. They also need to use headings and images to help them understand how the information is organised on the page. And they'll have to evaluate the text as well, so they'll have to read it critically to notice if it's biased or inaccurate or anything like that. During the next stage, our student is reading for detail, so she'll have to decode the text, understand its precise meaning. And while she's doing this, she'll need to think about what level of detail she needs for her task. So that's about understanding the genre, audience and purpose of the text she has to write for her assignment. So next, she's making notes in her own words. So this is note-taking skills. And of course, she needs the vocabulary to find her own synonyms to do it in her own words. And then the final 2 steps, she's drafting her text and then checking it. So here it's all about using the writing process independently, being able to focus on the writing, review it, make changes, edit it, proofread, and then polish for the final version. So as we've seen, avoiding plagiarism or summarising involves high-level literacy and language skills which students need to learn. In the next few activities, we're going to look at a range of things we can do with students to help them develop these skills.